All right, Kaylee.
I knew you were going to do that.
Are you ready to review Ed Gein?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Would you like me to do this voice?
No,
The
definitely
whole
not.
review?
No, please.
I think I'm going to.
Please, God.
So, Monster, the Ed Gein story. Okay. So, I think this is important to talk about. And this is really a lot of what I do want to talk about, and I think we should get this out of the way up front. So, there is a lot of controversy with this show, and that's nothing new, right? This happens all the time with stuff like this, especially Ryan Murphy stuff. Dahmer had the same response. Nobody gave a shit about the Menendez brothers one. I literally didn't even hear anyone talking about that season. I honestly almost forgot it existed. I didn't watch it, but I do want to see it, so I might watch that soon. But putting that aside, so the discussion here really quick is, should a show like this be made and exist? Okay, so there's a few ways to kind of handle this. Number one, this show in no way is trying to be like a retelling, right? This is not trying to be historically accurate, right? And that can upset some people. So this is a very sensitive topic, right? This kind of story, and this really upsets people, right? So if you don't do it exact, you're going to piss off a certain group of people. If you do it in exact, people don't want any version of this made, and it's going to piss off those people. If you know, like, and then, so here's the weird thing, and this is what I've been thinking about. It's interesting to me that people care less when Ed Gein inspires stuff like Psycho, Texas Chainsaw, Silence of the Lambs. You know, there's these like iterations that are used as entertainment. So like when I watch Psycho, when I watch Texas Chainsaw, when I watch Silence of the Lambs, these are all Ed Gein inspired things. I watch those for pure entertainment, and I have a great time watching them. And I'm rooting for Norman Bates. I'm rooting for Leatherface, you know, sometimes, right? Not always. There's certain characters, but like as the sequels go on, I'm like, get him, right? Leatherface, right? And he's a stand-in, right, for Ed Gein. So that almost feels more disrespectful to me because I'm rooting for the guy. When I watch something like this, like an Ed Gein story, and I know some of these things, obviously Ryan Murphy loves to, make shit up, do fantasy, whatever. We'll get there. But when I watch something like this, I'm not watching this for pure entertainment. Yes, I'm watching it for entertainment to a degree, but I am watching it with a really heavy heart. When I watch something like this, I really feel fucking bad. I am never rooting for anyone to die in something like this. Ever. The whole time. Even if it's fictional, because it's in a real story, any character that's in peril, I'm like, no, get away. No, run. Get out, right? And there's plenty of times where Leatherface is chasing after someone, and I'm like, yeah, kill the bitch. Right? Like, I would never say that in Ed Gein. Well, his mother's awful. Fuck. I was like totally fine with her death, but he had nothing to do with that.
Actually kill her.
But I was fine because she was a dreadful, awful person. So I think this is an interesting conversation. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Last thing before I'll kick it over to you is that with the whole like fantasy element, right? The historical fiction. You could almost call this Ed Gein fan fiction, because that's basically what this is, right? And it's kind of ironic because there are characters in this, that idolize him, whether it's Richard Speck or Charles Manson or whoever shows up in this show. They like idolize him and put him on this pedestal, and we have as a culture for a while, and I think that's one of the things that this show illustrates very well, is how much impact he's had on pop culture and us as a society, because there are serial killers who have been inspired by him. There are, 3 of the greatest horror movies of all time are all inspired by him, and there's something that us, the horror community, absolutely love. There's no way that someone watching this video who subscribes to this channel doesn't love at least one of those 3 films.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, it's interesting because, like, if you watch, you know, Inglourious Bastards,
yeah,
Quentin Tarantino takes Hitler into a movie theater and they blow them away, and there's this catharsis from it and whatever, and it's like, none of that shit happened. And he uses all sorts of things historically, right? The Jews being hunted down and slaughtered and killed and this and that. And people are okay with that. People don't, I mean, some people freak out about it, right? Always. But there seems to be a bigger outcry in instances like this. And I don't know. I always want to have a more serious, honest conversation about things. I'm not a overreactive person. So, like, what are your thoughts on this whole, like, notion of people being, like, super off-put? I know some of it has to do with the fact that they think that they're, like, sexualizing. Do you think that Ed Gein in this is meant to be hot? Like Dahmer in the first?
Well, okay. I'll get there, I guess. But, like, I think that this show and the same thing that Dahmer did, they're much more of, like, a character study of these individuals, and
They humanize them.
there is a humanizing
Yeah.
of them. But I think that you can
'Cause
go
they're
both
humans.
ways on that, because, yes, like, at the end of the day, even though we love to put distance between us and serial killers or mass murderers or whatever, they are human. And whatever it is that's broken, or however you want to look at it, in them is something that does exist in a human being. So it's like all of us are capable of doing something like that, which is, I think, kind of at the heart of what makes people upset and uncomfortable by seeing it, right?
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to be reminded that that is something that
Right.
somebody that they know or themselves could do or whatever. And I
They're
think as
just
far
pure evil.
right, it's a lot
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
It's a lot easier to just say, like, this person's pure evil. But the reality is that even when they do the most evil things, like, they still are human. So even if they're an evil person, like, people do have the capacity for extreme good and extreme evil. And so I think that's part of what the fascination with, like, true crime comes from, is people, you know, it's wanting to look into that darkness and, like, find some kind of understanding in it. And I think the same thing kind of applies for the horror movies, you know, the characters that are inspired by these killers, is that, yes, like, while there is an entertainment factor, because, you know, as a viewer, you know that it's all fictional, you know that it's not real, but because it's inspired by a real life person, like, the movies come out of the culture that they're from. So they are a reflection of, like, where the mental state of the populace is at that time. Like, what's going on in the zeitgeist? Like, what are we thinking about this type of thing? And I think you get some pretty, like, distinct differences between, like, Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill. Like, although they're all, you know, inspired by Ed Gein, they're also these, like, very different versions. So I think that's really interesting. But of course, you know, like what I was saying, where I think people like to look into the darkness and try and understand it, or just, you know, want to confront it or whatever. There's also, of course, people that are idolizing it, that are sexualizing it, fetishizing it. All those things still exist. And that's, I think, a big part of why people are very against shows like this existing, because it is like, okay, well, you're going to put something out there about this killer and immortalize them further. And it just takes the, you know, a person in the wrong mindset at the right time to then all of a sudden now they're looking up to this person and wanting to emulate them in some way. I mean, this is the biggest reason why, you know, people call against, like, when there's mass shootings in the United States, like, not publicizing the shooter, because there is, for some reason, this, like, competitiveness,
clout
this
chasing.
like I want to be famous, I want everyone to talk about me. And I mean, yeah, I think, like, I don't know how you get past that, because I don't think that we, like, are at a place in society where we can just stop talking about these things and about these people. Now, as far as, like, this show goes, I think part of, like, I'm not that familiar with Ed Gein's, like, the facts, the, like, actual history of what happened. So, like, when we were watching this, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, what is happening? Like, is this real? And you were like, this is fan fiction, or this is like fantasy type of thing. Like, this is speculative of like what they think has happened, or what, you know, whatever.
A combo
and it does
of a lot of different things.
Sure, and that does kind of make it hard when you're somebody who doesn't have that background information. So, like, a layman going into this, sitting down and watching this Ed Gein show, might not realize that it's all like fake. You know, like they might be like, or, you know, not all fake, but that there are like generous like, you know, like liberties taken,
artistic liberties.
and so I think that's also it can complicate things because yeah, I mean, I hear people that are like, we want the facts told, like we want you to tell like how it was, but again,
that's
as
what
I
documentaries
said,
are for.
It's what documentaries are for, and this is also more a look at the specific, like the person themselves, like the good and the bad, if there is any good, right? Like it's that.
So I will say this really quick, because we just said that and I want to get it off my brain. If a documentary did this, I would be pissed.
Sure.
I would be like, no, you are supposed to be factual.
Yeah.
Documentaries are meant to be factual unless they're mockumentaries. But if you're going to do a documentary on Ed Gein, it better not feature any bullshit, right? But when you're doing a scripted television series, you expect artistic liberty. That's just comes with the territory. No fucking like, you know, not many filmmakers are interested in doing a 1-for-1. They just aren't. Any adaptation of a book, any character, they always get some ego to them where they're like, this is more interesting. This makes the story more compelling or whatever. That is always the fucking case.
I mean, and then as far as what you were asking about, like, is he, like, sexualized in this? I mean, I don't know. I think, like, you know, I wasn't really that familiar with this actor, and then but he is like a handsome guy, and even though there is a little bit of like makeup stuff possibly on his face, like it's not really
just the eye.
It doesn't really hide his like features that much, and you do get like a shirtless shot of him at one point, and he's like ripped.
Shirtless? I mean, completely nude.
Yeah, you get a lot of like stuff of him just kind of
his ass quite a few times.
Yeah.
He's a good looking guy.
Now,
So.
Granted, like the way, but then it comes to the performance, which this is like a really phenomenal performance. Like he is totally this character. Like the voice that we did at the beginning, it's so distinct. It's so like
nothing like Ed Gein, but
you know there is this like soft spokenness that I think is what's like being emulated, and so you know like. There's that, but then there's plenty of people that are just kind of like, I mean, we talked about this after we finished the show, like people that write into serial killers that are in prison, that, you know, that girl that married Charles Manson, and like there are people out there that do, you know, fetishize them. And
sure.
I don't know if this is more fuel for the fire or what. Like I don't really feel like I'm qualified to like answer that kind of thing, and I think that, you know, much like all kinds of media, the more attention something gets, like the more of that content is going to be made. And I don't think it's fair to only put the blame on like, well, they're making these like mockumentary, like whatever you want to call them, like these shows about these killers, so they're perpetuating whatever. Like I don't think that's the only reason why, you know, all these other issues exist. Like why we have people that are killers, or why we have people that are attracted to them, or anything like that. You know, it's not as simple, at least in my mind.
I actually think it's more harmful to portray characters as pure evil.
Sure.
I don't think that is helpful for anyone who might be struggling. So like,
yeah, I agree.
There is a line, right? There are people who are like Ed Gein, who never kill.
Right.
Right? Like, I remember asking a question. Like, I remember I used to pose this question to people, and I would say, if I thought about murdering somebody every single day, and all I thought about was doing it, but I never killed a person, am I a murderer? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, if I thought about molesting children all day, every day, but I never did it, am I a pedophile? And they're like, yes. So there's like this definite distinction, right, between the two, where it's like, this one, you have to commit the act. And there are definitely people out there who constantly are, on edge and have that. But people like Ed Gein, people like Dahmer, people like, these people, there is a perfect storm that happens.
Yeah.
Do I think anybody could become Ed Gein? No, I don't. I don't think anybody could. Do I think everyone is capable of doing heinous acts? Yes. I mean, look at any war, right? Look at what happens to countries when I'm just following orders, right? There's tons of heinous acts that are committed by seemingly rational people. I mean, there's tons of people walking around in society right now who we decorate as war heroes, and they went and slashed people's throats from behind and murdered them and did all these terrible things, but it was in the name of war.
Context that people are like,
there's a justification.
Yeah, and truthfully, like, I don't think
I'm not comparing war heroes to Ed Gein.
No, that's definitely not the comparison. But like,
the point being, right, is that like there are people who, I feel like if Ed Gein was born today, right, and he was being raised right now, and he saw something like this that he actually connected to in a way to say, I think I'm sick. I think I'm sick in the fucking head.
Even more than
this
that,
could actually do something like that. It also could inspire too. You don't know. But this is the kind of thing that can definitely shine a light on, because I do think it's very important to understand that these are fucking people. And if you just try to, like, condense them into this little fucking box, and you're just like, no, they're just evil pieces of shit and they'll never be anything else. And it's like, no, they were good kids at one point, right? They were promise.
All babies. They were all like, yeah.
And you gotta understand that they with the right mentoring, with the right environment, these people won't ever become an Ed Gein.
And even with the right medication, but like that, it really just, it does come down to like mental health issues, right? Like all of these people that do these horrible things, like there are mental illness reasons why they're done. Even if they're trauma induced, like trauma can change your brain, and it is just, again, like you said, sometimes the perfect storm. For a lot of these killers, there's a lot of similarities between, like, how their mothers treat them and how they view women and sexuality. And that's, like, another thing that we were talking about a lot watching this, is how, like, sexual repression is, like...
God. It's almost always
possibly the worst thing that can happen. And it is sad, because it's like, now we live in a time where people are a lot more open and accepting when it comes to different expressions of sexuality. Like, I think people are, really pushing for that, but there are always groups of people that are like, no, it's wrong. Whatever it is that you like, you shouldn't like it. And when a lot of the stuff that people like are harmless, like, I'm not talking about pedophiles, I'm not talking about people that like are specifically like, I need to kill someone to, and some of these killers, like, that's where it goes to. But like the people that are just like, I like shoes, or I like this specific thing, and they get made fun of, or they get whatever.
If you have to dress up like a fucking teddy bear to jerk
whatever
off,
it is,
have at it.
Like, just like,
better than going out and killing people.
Yes, and sex is weird. And it's just a weird thing that humans do, and that people, or that anything does, right? That animals do, but like...
If Ed Gein was allowed to wear a dress, and his mom wasn't sexually repressing him and beating him with the Bible all day, he wouldn't have went out and murdered people. Yeah. I can almost guarantee
because that's the other part too. Okay, so like, he in this, like, we find out, obviously this is like spoilers, I guess, but he's diagnosed.
We already talked about spoilers, so fuck it.
He's diagnosed as schizophrenic.
Yeah.
But not every schizophrenic is a murderer. Not every schizophrenic is violent. Like, there are plenty of people that live in the world that are schizophrenic, that are medicated, or having treatment done, that are just trying to live their lives. And it's like, I think we've kind of also talked about this before on the channel, but like, for people who don't have any... I guess I'll say, like, kind of major, like, mental health issues. Like, they just have the sort of standard, like, if somebody passes away, you feel the depression and whatever, and, like, the regular anxiety. But for people who actually deal with, like, schizophrenia, the people that are bipolar, people that have eating disorders, people like us that have pretty severe anxiety. Like, you really just have no idea what that can be like to live with. And
they just think they're weak, and that's what's funny.
And so it is very disheartening when it's like you watch this person who, it's like, if they were just around the right people, or somebody was more compassionate and like was really noticing it, like, so much pain could have been avoided, like so much death could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And so that part of the show I think is really fascinating, like to just kind of show sort of, where Ed comes from and how he ends up, and everything that is inspired by him.
Well, I mean, what we were talking about earlier with the whole perfect storm thing, I mean, I'm kind of a testament to this, right? Like, I've talked about this on the channel plenty of times. I kind of had like the almost classic serial killer upbringing. Like, so much of my childhood perfectly like mirrors like a lot of serial killers, and there's always this like extra factor, right? And I think that you have to have someone who has that predisposition. You have to put them in the right environmental conditions. So there's the argument is always nature or nurture, and I always think that it's a combination of both to varying degrees. I think you can have someone who's 90% nature and 10% nurture, and you can have 50-50, you can have, whatever. But I always think it's a combination of both. And, I remember when I was dating the mother of my children, she was like, she'd read a lot of true crime stuff, and she was like, she's like, you kind of have all of the kind of classic telltale signs of a serial killer. And I was like laughing. I was like offended. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so like we took an online test for that, and I hit 9 of the 10 markers for a serial killer. And the big one though, and it's the big one, and this is the big difference. Hurting animals.
Yeah.
Torturing animals. Any of that kind of shit. 0. I've never had any interest. I am an animal lover to my core. I would never harm. Like, I don't even like killing bugs. Right? Like, a lot of the times I'll take them outside. I'm not.
Ed Gein is like, I wouldn't hurt a fly.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This is my cover. No, I'm just saying, but there is a factor, and I know it because I've been in the conditions. But it's just not. It's not. But had I been pushed further?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, I do think that, like I had said, I feel like these people, like, anybody could really, kind of have these breakdowns, and
if I had schizophrenia?
Because even people that are, sociopaths or psychopaths, like, those are still mental illnesses. Those are also still people. Those are also people that exist in the world that are maybe aware that there's, an issue, that are trying, to kind of fight against just the differences. And all of our brains don't work exactly the same. Like, it just isn't the case. And so, I don't know, when I watch stuff like this, I just always kind of get reminded of being like, it really is, sometimes you don't know the difference that you'll make in somebody's life by being kind and, like, not making fun of them and just, like, not being an asshole. And, not to say that that's, like, gonna make or break it, but you never know. And, of course, like, with this kind of thing, obviously, like, real people were killed by him. Awful. And there was horrible stuff that he did to people's, corpses. And that's also another level of pain that people, the loved ones of those people had to deal with. But it is fascinating because he is, he's certainly not the first, like, mass murderer in history, but he is kind of the start of this, like, it kind of sounds awful to say, but this, like, golden age of American serial killers. Like, he sort of is the kickoff to where, like, now from that point into, like, maybe the 80s or 90s. It was, like, so many serial killers, and it was, like, an epidemic that people were, like, it's very fascinating why that issue arose in the society during that time frame, because as we also talk about, like, now,
it's all about the mass shooters.
It's so much more in America. Like, if you live here, right? Like, there are, like, just countless shootings that happen all the time, and that's also, horrible. And Of course, there's still, murderers out there and everything, but it is very interesting how it seems like it's pivoted to that.
Yeah.
To the spree killers instead of the people that are like, stalking and finding their victims. And yeah, I don't know. It's messed up. And I don't blame anybody for not wanting to watch this.
No.
And I don't think, like, if you're someone who is just like, I hate the true crime stuff, like, I don't want to glorify them, I don't want to, like, give them any of my attention or anything, then by all means, like, I don't think that you should have to watch it.
No,
of course. But I feel that way about every piece of, like, media, because I don't think it's all for everybody, but I do think that this was at least constructed very well as a series.
I absolutely love the inclusion of all of the Psycho Texas Chainsaw
Yes.
and Silence of the Lambs stuff in here. I think all that stuff is wonderfully done. I think they incorporate it in a very intelligent way and it's a very cool way. And the way they were able to recreate Psycho
Yes.
with Anthony Perkins and Alfred Hitchcock, as well as the absolute most pitch perfect Leatherface from 1974's fucking Texas Chainsaw. Unreal perfection, fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Every time that thing was on screen, especially the very last one at the graveyard when he's swinging the chainsaw around,
Yeah.
like, I was like, that is fucking straight up Gunnar Hansen's
Yeah.
Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw. The mask, the outfit, his build,
Yeah,
his shoes,
the recreation stuff is
unreal.
is really
I mean,
cool.
incredible attention to detail on that
Yeah.
stuff. And as far as Charlie's performance here, I mean, whether you like the voice choice or not, or any of that stuff, I think his performance to me is undeniably fucking phenomenal.
I do
because
too.
knowing the guy, he has like he does not an American, like he has a totally different kind of accent. He has none of the cadence. He has none of the body language. None of the nothing is there anymore. Like, he is gone. The dude Jax or whatever from fucking Sons of Anarchy and this guy, there is zero similarities. Usually when I watch an actor, there's always like telltale signs of things they do. There's always like Brad Pitt always scratches the back of his head.
There's
some mannerisms
yeah.
that they just can't seem to let go.
Like a very solid character performance where it's like he's Ed Gein in this. Like, he's 100% that person.
Joe Barenthal always has to like look around when he does his scenes. Anyway, the Punisher, dude from The Bear.
I also felt,
who kills himself, his brother.
Yeah,
he's fucking same guy in every movie.
He's always so intense.
I love the guy, but he always has to. He's always looking around every time. So funny.
I feel like I felt the same way about Evan Peters too. As
not Peter Evans this time.
I know, I've been correcting myself.
Good job.
As Dahmer, I think that it's there is this like it's uncomfortable because you feel, at least for me, I definitely feel this like sadness for them, and then it's just like
this show's very empathetic.
Like, I know where it's going, like I know what you're gonna do, but I wish you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And
that's something that they're not gonna like, is that this is empathetic towards him,
right? And
I get it.
I do understand that, and I understand like there are victims, but I do think it's important, like we have been saying this whole time, that it's just like they're also people, and I don't mean that means that they get any kind of pass or any kind of like automatic forgiveness or anything. That's not what I'm calling for. I think he should die in jail. But there's an understanding there that I think humans like want to find and want to like. It's psychology, right? Like, we just want to know, like, why people do the things they do. And when somebody does something so horrible and so, like, you would never think about doing, like, the things that he's doing. Also, the bodysuit, like, the practical effects of, like, his things. Like, there's, like, the faces that he's putting on are just totally horrifying. And I'll be honest, like, the first, like, half of this show, I was having a really hard time watching it because I am not somebody, like, I have listened to true crime before, but it does really bother me because it is that difference of, like, just knowing that it happened. I don't really feel a, like, fear that it's going to happen to me. It's more of, like, I just know it did happen, and, like, knowing that it's real is obviously disturbing. So for like half of this show I was like so uncomfortable with a lot of the things, and then I kind of after you kept being like, oh, like that's not as like real or whatever. It helped relax me a little bit.
As far as like the fantasy elements of this, I want to address that really quick. Unfortunately, we do have to get off here in a second, but we didn't get to talk about the show as much as I would have liked to. But I think this is the most important thing. I feel like everything else is going to be talked about, and to me, this is the most important aspect. It's like, should shows like this exist? You know, who's offended, why, whatnot, and why I think that there is some argument for why things like this should exist and people shouldn't freak out about them as much. But I totally understand where people are coming from when they are. Anyway, putting that aside. Yeah, I mean, there's so many wonderful elements. But as far as like the fantasy stuff, I see it like this. I see it as number one, a blend of a few things. Number one is that there are speculations that Ryan Murphy decided, fuck it, I'm just going with those speculations. The babysitter, the hunters, like that stuff, right? It's like, fuck it, he killed him, right? We're going to show that he killed him, whether he did or not. And I think that kind of bleeds into the second one. So I think this is the most important piece. I think this show is being told to you completely through Ed's mind.
Yeah,
I think that nothing is relatable or reliable within this. This is the most unreliable narrator story you can watch. So you're seeing things. So essentially, all of this story is being told to you from Ed in prison. And after he's been told, did you kill these people? Did you do this? Here's that. He is creating this story. Right? He's filling in the blank spots. He's trying to remember. And if he doesn't remember, he already thinks of himself as a monster. So he's putting those things in place. Right? And I think that majority of that type of stuff is there because Ed's doing it. And then third, they're also trying to pay homage and tribute to the films and the pop culture
that it was
influence, as well as the serial killer influence that he had.
Yes.
No, Ed Gein did not help the FBI catch Ted Bundy. But even in this show, they kind of address that. He did not murder a nurse in the hospital. But yes, they do address that in the show as well. There's plenty of things that Ed sees and does in the show, and he also doesn't talk to anybody on a ham radio.
He doesn't talk to,
Right? Christine Jorgensen or the bitch
Ilsa.
of... Ilsa. Ilsa Koch. Well, one calls him Cock, but it's like Coke?
I don't know.
However you say her name. But yeah, and of course he didn't talk to him. He could be planning a breakout. They can't let him fucking talk to anybody on the outside. That's insane. Without supervision, of course. So yeah, to me, it's all just fantasy in Ed's head, and also just they're adding speculation. And then of course, like Adeline as well is his girlfriend in this. That is interesting because if I was her family, or if she's still alive, I'd be like, what the fuck did you do to me? That might be the most offensive thing in the show because they made her maybe worse than Ed.
Possibly.
Because
she's messed up.
She's fucked up, but she is not as fucked up as Ed. Like,
because Ed is portrayed as...
Do I feel sorry for Ed Gein's portrayal? I don't know Ed Gein for real, of course, and I'll never know Ed Gein.
We don't have
But the guy I get in this show, I 1000% feel bad for.
Because there is this, he's kind of mentally handicapped, or...
He doesn't know what he's doing.
And it does, you really get the sense that, he doesn't remember things. He doesn't have that... people always joke about, they're lying about the, the insanity plea. Yeah. But, in this, you really feel like this person... it's just not... He doesn't have the differentiation between, reality and fantasy. But this girl is, conniving and just evil. She's so evil. She's the one in the show.
She's almost like the stand-in for the girls who simp over Dahmer.
Kind of,
whatever, right?
Yeah.
She's kind of the embodiment.
Which I guess we'll end it with this. The next season is supposed to be about Lizzie Borden, which I'm very interested in. I also don't know a ton about Lizzie Borden, but there's so few female serial killers, for good reason. But
because women aren't as psycho as men in that way.
There's a lot of stuff in guys. No, but it will be interesting to see a female serial killer, a female, you know, whatever, because obviously we get a lot of there's a lot of guys out there, and it's just the psychology part of it, right? Like the differences and similarities between the two, like why women kill versus why men kill, and all of that. Like I think that's an interesting thing to explore, and so I'm curious about that one. I'm sure we'll watch it.
I think this is a really, really well made show.
I do too.
I just think that it's gonna piss people off that it's not historically accurate. They're not gonna like the voice that Ed chose. They're gonna get mad at all the fudging of facts and such. But I do think it's explainable, and I do think it's justified enough. I'm not saying I agree with 100% of it, but I really enjoyed this, and I think Charlie deserves an Emmy. I think he is absolutely incredible in this, and
I do too.
Unfortunately, we gotta go. I could probably talk about this for another fucking hour, just going through all of the big moments.
Sure, there's a lot of stuff.
There's some gnarly, graphic, fucking like body gore in this.
Really, really gross
Holy
stuff.
Shit!
Really
the
gross.
body they find in the freaking like in the barn
God. Awful.
is gnarly shit.
So yeah, it's definitely the kind of show that like if you start watching it and you start feeling really bad and like nauseous or anything, like just don't do it to yourself. Just stop.
It's a fucked up show.
Because like I'm somebody that watches a lot of really graphic stuff, and I had a hard time. So like, you know, just take care of your own mental health, and you don't ever have to watch things that make you uncomfortable at all. But I guess let us know like what you think about these types of shows. What do you think about this show in particular?
That's that. Well, I wish we could talk more about it, but we can't at the moment. If you guys want us to do a follow-up video, let us know. All right. Bye.